Maya Rivers knew the numbers didn't lie, but she never expected the people around her to. One wrong email, one exposed secret, and suddenly the office felt like a battlefield. The COO, a man who smiled in boardrooms and threatened in private, cornered her, warning her to keep silent or face the consequences. Her heart pounded. Every eye in the room was on her. Every word she spoke could tip the balance between survival and ruin. Tonight, courage would clash with corruption, and Maya had no choice but to fight back or be crushed by the very system she once trusted. Before we dive in, hit that like button and subscribe so more stories like this reach people who need to hear them. Maya Rivers wasn't new to corporate secrets. As a cybersecurity analyst for one of the largest tech firms in the country, she had spent years buried in firewalls, encryption codes, and financial logs that most employees would never see. She was meticulous, observant, and careful, traits that had earned her the trust of senior management. But nothing could have prepared her for the discovery she stumbled upon last week: hidden financial accounts, unauthorized data collection on millions of users, and evidence that the executives were siphoning profits into offshore holdings. At first, Maya thought it was a mistake. Numbers could be misread, systems could glitch, but as she traced transactions, dug into the server logs, and cross-checked internal memos, the truth became undeniable. Someone powerful had built a system to hide crimes behind layers of code and spreadsheets. The problem was, knowing the truth meant she was now a threat. By Monday, the COO, a smooth-talking, intimidating figure who had built a reputation on fear and charm, had noticed her questions. He called her into his glass-walled office, a room that once felt like a symbol of her career ambitions, now a cage. The door closed behind her and the cheerful corporate hum of the office vanished. His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Maya," he said, leaning back, "some things are better left buried. You understand, don't you?" Maya nodded carefully. She had learned long ago that confrontation with people like him wasn't about arguing. It was about survival. Every word mattered. Every move was scrutinized. Outside the office, the world saw a polished corporate executive. Inside, she faced a man willing to crush anyone in his way to protect his empire. And tonight, the fight for truth would no longer be behind a screen. It would be face-to-face. Maya left the COO's office with a knot in her stomach, but not fear, something sharper. She knew the stakes, and she knew that hesitation could cost her career or worse. Over the next few days, subtle threats began to creep into her life. Emails flagged as urgent with empty warnings, unexplained access denials to her workstation, and shadowy figures lingering just outside the office floor. It was no longer just about data. It was about control. Determined not to be intimidated, Maya started gathering her own evidence in secret. Late nights became a routine. Hours spent downloading encrypted files, cross-referencing financial statements, and tracing the digital breadcrumbs that the executives had tried to erase. Every click, every file carried the weight of exposure. One wrong move could trigger retaliation, and she knew it. Then came the confrontation. The COO cornered her in the cafeteria under the fluorescent lights, the perfect public trap. "Maya, you're playing a dangerous game," he said, voice low but cutting. His words dripped with menace, a subtle reminder that the company's power reached far beyond these walls. She held her ground, keeping her voice even, her mind calculating. But the threat wasn't just theoretical. That evening, Maya noticed surveillance cameras were pointed directly at her workstation, a measure she hadn't seen before. She realized she wasn't alone. Someone was watching her every move, waiting for a mistake. Her pulse quickened, but she didn't panic. Instead, she reached out to an ally she had trusted for years, a colleague who owed her nothing but loyalty to truth. The ally agreed to help, recording meetings, capturing conversations, documenting threats. Now, Maya had more than just intuition and digital trails. She had proof that could turn the tables. Every tense exchange, every veiled threat from the COO and his team was being documented, creating a web that would eventually collapse under its own corruption. Maya wasn't just surviving anymore. She was preparing to strike back, and the moment would come when those who thought they were untouchable would finally face consequences they couldn't control. The boardroom was cold, sterile, and tense, the perfect stage for a showdown. Maya stepped inside, laptop in hand, her pulse steady despite the weight of the moment. The COO and several senior executives were already seated, their faces masks of arrogance and control. They had no idea what was about to hit them. Maya connected her laptop to the central screen. "Before we proceed," she said calmly, "I have some evidence you might want to see." She pressed play. Voices from recorded meetings filled the room. Executives boasting about illegal surveillance, falsifying financial reports, and threats directed at employees who spoke out. Each clip was a dagger, cutting through the facade of corporate power. The COO's smug smile faltered. The confident, untouchable aura of authority evaporated into panic. "What is this?" he demanded, rising from his chair, but Maya didn't flinch. Every word he had said, every intimidation tactic, was now documented for the world to see. Her ally had ensured that backups were already sent to regulators, the media, and internal compliance. There was no hiding, no spinning the narrative. The executives realized too late that the system they had used to silence others was now turned against them. The room descended into chaos, arguments, desperate denials, and finger-pointing, but it was futile. Maya's evidence left no room for excuses. The COO tried one last intimidation, stepping toward her with a raised hand, but she remained calm. She had anticipated this, every move calculated, every step prepared. Security was called, not for her, but for the executives now caught in their own web. Handlers escorted them out, their faces pale, their power stripped away in front of everyone. Maya watched as the very people who had tried to terrify her now faced the consequences of their corruption, powerless to defend themselves. As the doors closed behind them, Maya allowed herself a small exhale. Justice had not only been served, it had been executed with precision, and the truth had finally been heard. Days later, Maya sat in her small apartment, the city lights casting a glow across her desk. The news was buzzing. Headlines declaring the corporation's executives under investigation, regulatory fines imposed, and whistleblowers finally vindicated. Her courage had sparked a wave of accountability that no corporate shield could suppress. Emails of support poured in from colleagues, former employees, and even strangers inspired by her actions. Maya realized that what had felt like isolation in those tense moments of confrontation was actually a test of her resolve. She had stood alone, yes, but she had also been the spark for a movement. The COO and other executives faced legal action, public scrutiny, and career ruin. The secret ally who had risked everything to record the evidence remained anonymous, but Maya knew she owed them everything. Together they had shown that systems built on fear could be broken with truth, courage, and strategy. Maya closed her laptop, leaning back in her chair. Justice was not a gift, it was earned, and sometimes it required standing firm when the world seemed to turn against you. She felt a quiet strength settle in her chest. No longer just a whistleblower, Maya had become a symbol of resistance, a reminder that courage, even in the face of systemic power, could reshape the world. And for the first time in weeks, she allowed herself a smile, knowing the fight had been worth it and the truth had finally won. If Maya's courage inspired you, make sure to hit the like button and show your support. Don't miss more gripping stories like this. Subscribe to our channel and join the journey.